Know thyself. Who are you? What makes you tick? Are we just a physical being with a brain that sends messages and we are controlled by our five senses? Our soul, what part does that play? What does it mean when you say a soul? What is a soul? When we understand the way we work, guess what? We understand the way the universe works. We are a an embodiment of the entire universe. So to know yourself is to know God's workings within the universe. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We're coming to the end of the 53 chapters of Tanya. We're in the 51st chapter. These three last chapters will bring to a conclusion a wealth of teachings, daily golden nuggets of inspiration and nuanced ideas on how we can better our lives, be more divine, and actually, in the end, being more human, truly human. And we go back to something that we began in chapter 35, quoting from the Zohar, the Yanuka, that gave a metaphor of oil that has a wick and a flame. The oil are the good deeds, the mitzvahs that we do. The wick is a metaphor for the body. And the flame is what we produce, the flame of God that embraces us, that hovers over us and embraces us in the act of doing the mitzvah. Again, every time we do a good deed, we do a mitzvah, like now, studying Torah, or giving charity, praying to God, for a Jew eating something kosher, keeping Shabbos, and whatnot. The act is done through the body. So the body is the conduit, just like as the wick is a conduit for the oil to create the light of God that embraces us in the very act itself. So we need to understand the metaphor of oil. In mystical teachings, in Hasidus, oil is usually a metaphor for chokhmah, wisdom, divine wisdom, and even human wisdom. As Chachma is the highest of the 10 divine attributes, and in our makeup of our soul, Chachma is the loftiest. And just as oil rises above all other liquids, it doesn't mix with liquids. So likewise, divine wisdom and ours is rise above. That's the metaphor of the oil. But here we're using the metaphor for the oil, not for wisdom, but for doing good deeds. What's the relationship? What's the correlation between the two? They seem to be, different ideas. What's the connection? So we'll understand this by understanding something else first. The Shekhinah, which means the divine presence of God, where God dwells. Well, it's in the Holy of Holies. where the Ark of the Covenant is. In the times of the sanctuary, when the Jews were in the desert for 40 years, in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, the Holy Temple, that stood, first one for 410 years, then for 420 years, the second one. What does this mean, this idea of the Shekhinah that dwells in a particular place? What is it? What's the concept there? When God, the whole world is full of his glory. You look at a leaf and you can see the glory of God. A simple little thing. No place is void of him. So what does it mean that the Shekhinah, the divine presence of God, is in a particular place? So this will all be understood by knowing ourselves first. As Job said, from my flesh I will know God. In other words, I am an analogy to understanding the divine workings, understanding how the soul interplays with the body. Then I will come to appreciate and understand how God interplays with creation. So there as we will see, 3 dimensions of how the soul interplays with the body. Firstly, the principal abode, where the soul is revealed, and from there diffused to the rest of the organs of the body, is in the brain. That's where it's first diffused, is in the brain. Hence, the brain has consciousness uniquely over any other organ. No other organ has. Not even the heart has consciousness. It's only the brain that has it. From the brain, the soul is then diffused, meaning a ray of the soul, a particular of the soul, into the eye to see, the ear to hear, the hand to act like a hand, the feet to walk, the mouth that it can speak. It receives its life force from there. As we see the brain being conscious of all of what occurs in the 248 organs of the body, right? As we know that the brain is the nerve center, the principal abode, and the source of life for the entire body. Excuse me. Now, there's the essence of the soul. The essence of the soul isn't particularized into limbs. In the essence, it's one wholeness of the soul. It doesn't have compartments to it. It's a simplistic one wholeness, a single entity, a spiritual single entity, uncompounded, divested of any kind of design, completely divested. So when we speak about the essence of the soul, as opposed to the first revelation of the soul, which is in the brain, versus the soul, the revelation of the soul in the brain that is diffused a ray of light from there into a functionality of a particular organ. The essence of the soul, uncompounded, complete oneness, is equally in the brain as it is in my fingernail. There is no higher and lower. That would be if there's if it's a compound. In a compound, you have a higher element of the compound, a lower element of the compound. The essence of the soul is not that way at all. It's the hiddenness of hiddenness, and therefore it is found equally everywhere in the same manner. In the brain, that's the first revelation. It's not hidden. It's the first revelation of the soul in an undiffused manner, if you will, like the sun, right? And just like the sun will then shine into one home with a certain light, that's a stronger light. And in the very same home, a different window on the other side of the house, the light will be lesser. So likewise, the soul from the brain diffuses into different organs of the body, giving different functionality and distinction. One greater, one lesser. So the eye, let us say, is greater and therefore has the power to see. The hand and the foot are lesser light that is diffused, and therefore it doesn't have the power of an abstract thing like seeing. It can walk, it can stretch out a hand. That's the power that radiates from the soul. Even the heart, which life is dependent on, is getting its diffused power and energy. It receives from the brain. And as a result of that, that's why the brain can have dominion and power over the heart, meaning that the brain naturally dominates the heart. But in other words, when we know right from wrong, even though our heart may desire something that's wrong, right, to engage in something that's lustful, to engage in something that is just pleasurable for no purpose but the pleasure, which is lust. The brain being, it gives the power to the heart. It diffuses from there the soul into the heart to give it its life force, meaning it's greater than it, and therefore the mind has dominion over the heart. So what comes out over here? We have three dimensions in knowing who we are. There's the essence of my soul that's uncompounded. It's not compartmentalized of different components, 613, 248 organs. No, it is abstracted of any form. And therefore, it's equally in the brain and in my fingernail, the essence of the soul. Then comes the first, and that is beyond revelation. The first revelation in an undiffused manner of the soul is in the brain. Hence there's consciousness. Hence it has even dominion over the heart. That's the first place. From there is a third component of the soul, that the soul is then diffused from the soul, meaning only a ray of light, not the bright light like the sun, only a ray of light is then comes into different limbs of the body, in the eye, diffused in a manner from the brain that gives it the power of my eye to see. And then from the soul's first this powerful, undiffused revelation in my brain. From there is diffused in my ear to hear, my feet to walk, my hand to act like a hand. Those are the three components of knowing ourselves. From knowing ourselves, as we said, from my own flesh, the way the soul interplays with my body, I can now know God. So in a similar manner, figuratively speaking, the Ein Sof of God, the infinite of God, fills the worlds and animates them, permeating all worlds. Just as the soul, the essence of the soul, is found everywhere equally, well, the essence of the Ein Sof, of the limitlessness of God, is found everywhere in creation equally. There's no higher or lower in that dimension. The core essence of the Ein Sof is the same everywhere, just as we found in the soul. And that's what the Zohar says. He is hidden from all the hidden. In other words, there's a level of God, of something that's hidden and revealed. Oh, means there's a hierarchy, a higher level, a lower level. This level of the divine, there's no hierarchy. The higher world, where our souls go after 120 in Gan Eden, that's hidden from us. The angels above, that's hidden from our perception and our awareness. All of that, and this world, in comparison, that is, the light is so reduced in relation to the Ein Sof, the infinite of God, he's found equally. There's no distinction. Higher world, lower world, no distinction at all. No such thing as higher world. There's a story told of, to give a metaphor for this, to appreciate. Hilabaracher was a chassid of the Mittler Rebbe and Tzemach Tzedek. He was very young, prodigy, that he sought out the Alter Rebbe, but in the end never saw him. In any case, he said about another chassid, Rabbi Isaac Homler, that he is so brilliant and so beyond me, like that, me and a cat. So he said, don't make a mistake and think that just as, my mind versus a cat's mind, there's a great gap. So that great gap is the gap between my mind and my understanding and Rabbi Isaac's understanding. He says, no. Before him, me and a cat are the same. He's so much greater in his wisdom and his knowledge that me and a cat are equal before him. That's just a metaphor to bring out, how he felt about the fellow chassid and his greatness. So the same thing is over here when we're talking about God, the Ein Sof of God, the essence of God. This low world that is far removed from perceived godliness, like the cat, metaphorically like the cat, sorry, cat lovers, and the higher dimensions, the spiritual dimensions above, like the world of Bria, even Atzilus, right? World of Bria is the higher level of Gan Eden. Lofty souls are there. God, before him or relative to him, this world, that world, no distinction to the essence of God. Then what does it mean in the metaphor to the way God is like the soul, its main undiffused revelation, not essence, but revelation is the opposite of essence, is in the brain, as we said. And from there it's diffused, and the soul is then diffused and found in the eye to see and the ear to hear and so on. How that metaphor works with God, stay tuned. More to come. Any questions? Any comments? See, folks, today, Chabad Lifeline, Addiction Crisis Center, dealing with addiction, dealing with the family crisis of addiction, with the unknown hidden child that is affected by addiction because of the upside down family craziness that goes on. So we deal with all of them. And today we're doing a charity matching campaign today and tomorrow. It started already, but yeah, I'm here to teach and I'm going to go shortly to reach out to people. An email was sent out to you. If you can respond and help out the cause, you'll be saving a life. You'll be saving families, actually. Not just the addict, but the disease of addiction affects an entire family and beyond. The close family unit, but we can be part of the answer and bringing healing. So, should have received an email. Do help out. charity.com/lifeline. And make a difference. Rambam coming up. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich in Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. An amazing good week. Thank you. There should be tonight our class and TRC. I'll be confirmed later.